This is a Line 6 pod from the year 2000. Now, the first time I ever recorded guitars, it was with one of these, and I thought this thing was awesome back then, but amp modeling has come a very long way since then. And these days we kind of all look back and laugh at the pod, but I'm not gonna lie, I've kind of always loved this little kidney bean. So today I want to challenge myself and see if I can get a great modern metal tone that sounds great in a mix using this ancient technology. So let's do it. Let's fire up the pod. Ooh. Man, I haven't played with one of these in like 12 years. I'm in drop E tuning here. No idea how this thing's gonna handle it, but it was definitely not built for drop E. You know what, I'm not even gonna mess around. The muscle memory's kicking in. These three are the amps I used, man. I have the noise gate engaged and this thing is definitely noisy. So these three, Brit high gain, tread plate, and modern high gain, this is where I used to live when I was playing with one of these. This is like a Marshall JCM 800, I think. Then tread plate is the dual rectifier. I have the drive all the way up here, but it's still kind of like not high gain enough sounding. Like that's not going to chug at all. That just sounds kind of weak, but I remember with this thing, there's kind of like an inbuilt cheat code where if you hold this magic hold button and turn up the drive, it engages like a boost, like some kind of overdrive. See if it works. There you go, you hear that engage, and now we have way more gain. Oh my God. Honestly, this thing sounds better than I remembered. Like the Line 6 fizz that everyone talks about. Like we definitely didn't exaggerate that with memory. It's real. But the actual overall tone and the kind of dual rectifier quality of the tread plate preset, that sounds pretty great for like 26 years old. Modern high gain, I'm pretty sure is a Soldano SLO 100 model. Definitely wants more treble. Like, yeah, it's kind of muddy. We also have the fuzz box. I used to use this all the time. I kind of used to love this one, to be honest. That's pretty cool. I remember Line 6 Drive being the fizziest, like most digital one. Let's engage that distortion thing for this. Yeah, there's the fizz. Tread plate is the GOAT. Man, this thing's noisy. But yeah, tread plate is definitely the one for me. I think I used to use that like almost always when I used one of these. So we have the boost engaged, but I'm going to bring the gain down a little just because, yeah, we don't need that much. Yeah, I want a lot of treble. This is kind of like muddy sounding. So we'll have the treble all the way up. Mids. That sounds pretty good, quite high. Bass, I'll leave around 12 o'clock. And the other thing with this that some people don't know is here where you have the effects, we also, if we hold this button, you can see there's 1x8, 1x12, so we can select different cab sims. So we're going to want like a 4x10 or 4x12. Whoa, that's beefy. Oh, that's really muddy. Okay, that's dialed in now to a point where not only am I happy with it, I'm pretty surprised. Like, it does have the digital harshness that thankfully with neural and stuff these days we don't have, but it's not as bad as I was expecting. Some of these presets sound really bad, but the tread plate with this cab sim, it kind of sounds like an amp. I feel like with some post-processing, this is going to be like very usable in a modern metal mix, so let's find out. I have a mix here that I'm working on. I'm going to double track this, hard left and right. Let's just duplicate this track. Column left and right. Let's see what we have to do to make this sound right in a mix. All right, let's get it on the right. I have this turned up pretty loud, but I can already tell this is going to be buried in the mix, so we're going to have to work around that a little bit. But the actual tone itself sounds pretty awesome, so I think we can salvage it. All right, I've already got a noise gate on both of these tracks, just the Cubase noise gate, but in the little silence here, there's still noise the whole time. This is just not, you know, you can't dial in the noise gate on this thing as far as I know. So I'm going to chop the audio here. Right there. And then, yeah, it's just after all of the initial like drops. And then we want to cut all of these just like this. Yeah, it sounds way cleaner in the mix. And besides that noise that we've now fixed, the things we still need to fix for this to like really work in a modern metal mix is, firstly, it's just buried in the mix. Like I've got these turned up pretty high. But it's just not got that much like definition or body to it. So I think that's going to be partially about the upper mid-range. We could just boost the mids here on the pod, but that's going to give us all the mid-range. We don't want like 300-400 hertz. That's just going to get muddy. We want like 800 hertz, 1K or something. Otherwise, these are just going to be too thin and just get like lost in this dense mix. And other than that, I think we need to cut off some harsh top end. There's not as much in the tread plate preset, but there's still some of that. And then we need to do something to kind of replace those frequencies. Like I basically want to lose the line 6 digital harshness and then do some things to harmonically excite the tone so it has the high end, cuts right through the mix because that's really missing right now. Just sounds like flat and dull. So we need to find a way to bring that high end up without it having the characteristic line 6 harshness. And I think we can do it. We're just going to have to think outside the box. So let's start with some EQ. I'm just going to put the left track in the center so that we can work on this one on its own. And the first thing I want to do here is just add a low pass filter like you usually would. Yeah, you hear that little bit of fizz up here? We do not want that. I maybe want to go a little higher. Maybe we'll go about 9. Yeah, that sounds all right. And then I think I want to notch something out, maybe around like 4 or 5K. I'm hearing like a harsh resonance. Right there, that was a good guess. Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. You hear how that's tidying up that harshness? Right, now let's find our mid-range, maybe around 800. Oh, you hear how that suddenly gets way more genty if we boost around here? That like nasal mid-range. Oh, I'm going to go for a big boost right around 1K. Let's lose the low end just because we don't need all that. Let's also just boost a little top end maybe before the cut. Oh, you hear how it's like so defined now? Like, yes, it's very mid-rangey. It sounds really clean and like scooped before. But in a mix, this is going to have way more body now. So I'm going to copy that EQ and put that on the right as well. Yeah, I can feel that in the mix now. We can actually turn that down a little bit because it doesn't need to be so loud to stick out at all. Like, we don't want this to be any louder than it needs to be. We just want to make sure it cuts through. Now we just need to do some things to replace those high frequencies that we've cut out because we don't want that 25-year-old amp modeler harshness on the high end, but we do want razor sharp modern high end that's going to cut through a mix, but just isn't going to sound like crap. So I want to basically make this sound like we've boosted the pod with a tube screamer or something in front of it. Obviously, we're working in post-processing here, so we're going to have to be creative, but I feel like that's the key from bringing this to, you know, when this came out, Hybrid Theory was like the new sound, the brand new sound. So we need to figure out how to bring this forward 25 years and just tighten up that tone in the way that we hear with modern tones. So I feel like some kind of distortion. Let's use Prisma. This is by Unplug Red. This is a free plugin, and this is like the most insane distortion I've ever seen. It's multi-band, so we can handle the different frequency ranges differently. And you can choose between like every type of distortion. So we can be really specific with what sound we want here. So the high end and high mids are definitely going to be most important. Let's try the soft clip first on the highs. Oh, sounds great. See, that sounds great, but it might actually not be harsh enough. I need this to really cut through. That's a little too aggressive. There, asymmetrical clipping, that might work quite nicely. All right, high mids, let's try heavy. Ooh, yeah, we want aggression in the high mids. Lows, I'm gonna leave alone, and maybe just a bit of soft clipping on the low mids. We can solo the band here. And we can put this in parallel. So that's with no effect. That's sounding aggressive, but I think that might be the kind of boost we need to really bring this to life and make it cut through this mix properly. And you know, it's harsh in the high end, but compared to the line 6 harshness, if we were to just boost the tone with EQ straight out the pod, this is a world of difference. All right, let's pan these back to the left and right and see how that sounds now. All right, it's definitely coming together, but the low end is sounding a little muddy to me. That could be like tighter, and I also feel like I just want maybe some like mid-range compression or something just to get more of like a modern tonal character, more of like a grinding mid-range. I wonder how it'd sound if we used a tube screamer. Let's try Dr. Drive. I'm gonna just put this obviously after the amp, but treat this how I would if I was using one of these in front of the pod. So the attack knob is going to be the main thing that we want to use to tighten up that low end. That's sounding great. Like we could just use an EQ after and just, you know, lose the low end, but this is adding its own saturation and compression as well. That's actually really modernizing the tone. So I'm basically seeing this as like a high pass and this like a low pass. You know, this is taking out low end, this is taking out high end, and this is just going to add a little bit of drive. Let's put it in parallel. We don't even need much of that for it to really smooth off the top end and like compress the mid-range how we need it. That sounds surprisingly great after the pod. All right, let's see how that sounds in the mix. I think all we need is a bit of fresh air, maybe some OTT in parallel, my two favorite cheat codes. Just parallel OTT to get it a little more in your face, cutting through a little more. Honestly, I'm not even going to tweak anything else in OTT. That's all it needs, just a little bit of parallel OTT. Lastly, just a little fresh air, because of course this thing is made to add high end without harshness, which we desperately need with a pod. Tiny little boost from that is all we need. I really think that OTT and fresh air at the end is going to be that tiny little extra push we need, so this cuts through beautifully without having that harshness that we wanted to get rid of. Let's see. Bruh, that's a 26-year-old Line 6 pod. That's actually insane. I honestly thought we were going to have to do a lot more. Like, you know, we kind of did some crazy things, putting an overdrive pedal and a multiband saturation after the pod. That's pretty unconventional, but I thought it was going to take a lot more random, like, parallel processing and stuff. Like, this thing was way ahead of its time. Like, yeah, granted, a lot of the presets sound pretty crap for metal, but the tread plate, I can see myself using this for, like, future tracks for clients and stuff. Like, this tone is... For me, that's like a top tier modern metal tone I can see myself using just because it sounds good. Let's just do a quick A/B comparison actually. So this was the tone that we had. If I turn everything off, this is how it sounded coming straight out the pod. That sounds pretty great already. And then this is what we've turned it into. Obviously a lot more high end, but that's because we're competing with this dense mix. I'm impressed with this little thing. I'm not going to lie. I thought this was going to be a kind of hilarious video where we have to do some really stupid stuff and hopefully end up with something that sounds good. But this is a crazy piece of gear. Like, no wonder it sold so well back then. It's so fun to play with. Like, you know, it has all the effects we didn't even get into. And it can genuinely sound great even in a modern metal mix. Like, I'm loving this. It seems like you basically just have to EQ out the harsh high end and replace it with nice high end using, you know, distortion plugins and stuff. Honestly, I've had this thing for like a year. I need to use it more. And you guys should be using it too. Like, this is not a plug. It's not a sponsored video. It's a free plugin, but we all need to be using it more. Like, look at it. What is this thing? It's ridiculous. Like, you have so many types of distortion. It's like, this is crazy. And other than the high-end harshness thing, it was basically just a case of using the Dr. Drive pedal and REQ to kind of tighten up the low end and get that mid-range compression that we need. I feel like this is sitting beautifully in the mix now. It definitely doesn't sound like a 26-year-old amp modeler. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. As always, if you want to dive deeper on guitar tones and everything else about production, mixing and mastering, you can check out my Modern Metal Pro course in the description. It's 8.5 hours long. And I want to know below, what do you guys think about the pod? Is it underrated? Is it cheap and nasty? Honestly, I'm on the underrated side. I wasn't sure where I was going to fall, but this thing's awesome. Like, it's not a modern plugin, and we should be very grateful for the modern technology because it's come a long way, but this little guy surprised me. I genuinely think I'm going to be using this for like tracks in the future just because I like how it sounds. All right, hit the like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and I'll see you guys next time.